friends, and welcome to Rapid Flow. My name is Eric. I'm the founder at Rapid Flow. We do everything we can to make you faster. Everything you're going to see today is based on our Rapid Flow template. So, what is today's video about? It's about the 5 most criminally underrated Softube plugins. Now, disclaimer, this is a collaboration with Softube. They were kind enough to provide me licenses for all their products. Thank you, Andreas, much appreciated. But I've been working together with Softube since many, many years. I represented them on various product tours across Germany. So I know their products well. I actually bought many of their products after that, and Andreas was just cool to give me additional licenses so I can test more stuff, and some of that stuff has made it into this video, and I want to show you some of the stuff that I've been using for years and that I actually ended up buying myself. So the first thing I want to show you is the plugins which I am currently loaded onto my master bus, and it is the Empirical Labs plugins. I completely underestimated how great these plugins sound, and if you wonder how I brought them up so quickly, it's a nice little undocumented shortcut. Option Command on a Mac P will bring up any plugins that you have open or close them actually, so that's a really nice little one to find. If you want to learn more key commands like this, we have a free download that has all the key commands for a bunch of DAWs. I'll link it below. So back to the matters at hand. So obviously Empirical Labs needs no introduction. Their distressor has gone on to become a studio staple. They're fat, so they have many amazing devices, but these 2 plugins blew my mind when I first heard them, and honestly I myself underestimated them. So let me show you what they sound like, and then let's discuss what we're hearing, and I'm very curious on your take on this. As you can see, I'm running a VU meter in front of them because I want to send them roughly minus 18 dB full scale, so like roughly 0 VU, so that they can do optimum performance. Let's have a look. So as you can see, we're sort of hitting around 0-ish, so that these plugins don't get massively overloaded with signals that we send them. Okay, so let's have a listen first to the EQ, which is the little freak. And I find that the high shelf is really the place where you can easiestly hear if a plugin has been well coded or not. If that immediately gets harsh, then you know it's going to be a difficult plugin to use on a lot of stuff. You'll see some blue markings on here. These are some of the, let's say, classic or recommended settings that were done by the designer. And yeah, this is a good starting point for most things. So we're running this across the full mix bus. Okay, so let's do a bypass. Yeah, super nice, really clean, grabby EQs. There's a really nice high pass filter. I find this is also a place where you can very clearly see if the plugin has good sonic characteristics. Just listen to the high pass filters that it has. If those ring, if those sound weird, if those totally ruin your low end, then you know it's not where it's at. Let's listen to this high pass because it's incredibly clean. So yeah, super nice also to clean up tracks with. And here there's actually also a de-esser. We're going to look at that with the vocal because it's a better place to hear it. Let's now have a look at the compressor, the Mikey, which is obviously has quite a lot of similarities actually with the distressor. mojo and vibes. This little stepped preamp part is such a great way to test different vibes and sounds. And actually the meter here on the left showing you from like warm, hot and toasty, it actually really shows you very clearly what kind of distortion you're getting. So yeah, especially, well, actually both of them, but also the compressor, like even to just put it on a mix bus like this, I'm obviously using quite a slow attack, very fast release, and normally I would only do like a 2-to-1 ratio. But the amount of vibe you can get off of this, it's incredible. I love what that's doing to the overall vibe on the master bus, both the EQ and the compressor. I mean, of course, they're amazing also on individual tracks. So great, amazing plugins, really into these. But now I'm going to actually show you something that I have been using like this since, I think it's like decades, since whenever Console 1 came out. And to this, I'm just going to switch over here to the Console 1 so I can show you this. So obviously this is the dedicated controller for Console 1 software, for Softube software. It's an amazing way to be able to, you know, show you what you're doing, to solo stuff, to interact with stuff. However, what I've ended up doing, because I also travel quite often, is the fact that I use this when I'm in the studio, but when I'm on the road, the main parameters that I need when I'm working with the Softube plugins actually get mapped to these controllers here. So this is an Akai APC40 Mark II. Akai, if you're watching this, please start producing this again. We need it. Everything else that you've made so far doesn't cut it compared to this. And I'm also using a MIDI mix just to extend the faders without a massive footprint, because I'm using 16 when I'm playing live or when I'm producing. I'm using the Vice EQ for this. Let me just bring up my browser here and let me show this to you. So you can get, of course, the plugins that you can put individually somewhere across your track, like the empirical lab stuff I just showed you, but you can also get the channel strip. So I'm using the Vice channel strip, which you can see is way cheaper than getting all the individual Vice plugins. I'm using the default Console 1, which is basically an SSL 4000 emulation. And then I'm using the API American Class A emulation. So those are the three that I would recommend you to get, because the three of them together will give you access to that sound plus full control on the Softube Console 1, but it's not going to break the bank like buying all the individual plugins. And later, if you want to go more in depth, you can do that. As we know, there's now a new mastering suite, which is subscription based from Softube. I'm guessing that there's going to be a subscription for all their plugins at a certain point in the near future, so that might make this decision a lot easier. But until then, you could have access to basically the way I do it also. Let me switch over back to Ableton. Is a Console 1 plugin that has a 4000E series dynamic shaper, the EQ from the Vice plugins, and then the API compressor, which I'm going to show you is the best sidechain compressor I've ever found, but we'll get into that in a sec. So right now, if I'm on this track, I have full control over the high frequency content of that track, and I found that for most live performance stuff, or for kind of doing your mix in real time, that's like one of the most powerful parameters together with the fader, and then you're kind of set. So when I'm on the road or when I'm playing live, this is what I use, and it just gives you a massive amount of control over your set. Let me show you how easy it is to make this sound like a build-up and like what I want to do. the picture, it's super easy to just bring stuff in and out of your mix, and you're using these super high-end, very, very clean EQs from Vice. The low end is one of the cleanest I've heard of. Robert Babic, Rob Acid, actually recently told me he uses the Vice low cuts a lot also on his track. So yeah, super recommended. They sound very, very clean. And if you get these plugins for Console 1, you'll have access to that same sound quality. The Vice plugins are way lower latency than the big ones, which are only really useful, I think, in a mixdown or mastering situation. And you can map them across your DAW as you need them, which is super easy, as I'm sure you know. In Ableton, you can just hit M, and as you see here, this is the high cut that I have for this melody. I have it mapped to this rotary encoder, and on my way I am. Okay, so I've hinted that the API channel script for Console 1 is massively powerful, and especially the sidechain on it is incredible. So let me show you what that sounds like and why I love it so much. So this is a pad sound that's in this track. Let me bring up its frequency content. So it's basically like that orchestral sound. Okay. So I'm gonna now drop or switch on properly this API compressor, API emulation, and I'm gonna just drop the threshold into that. And what I am doing for this to work, of course, let me show you that quickly. Okay, so in order for this to work, we have to send a so-called sidechain signal into the compressor, which is basically a signal that tells the compressor when it should open and close when we want to sidechain stuff in electronic music. In the Rapid Flow template, there's a dedicated channel that just has a key signal so that you can use it in your break even if the kick isn't playing, and it's just a plugin that's just making a kick drum. You could use any sampler for this, and it's sending it with a little bit of timing delay to get it really nice and tight on the groove of the metronome towards anywhere you need it on your session, and in this case it's on this pad. So let me show you what that sounds like. I'm going to open up the filter here, and I'm going to lower the threshold of this compressor into this pad. I don't know what it is about this compressor specifically and these settings. If you have this plugin, feel free to use these, but it pumps exactly the way I want a sidechain compressor to pump away, and I've tried so many different ones. Yeah, this for me is the very best sidechain compressor that I found on these settings. So yeah, having the API stuff, of course the EQs and everything else that's on there is great, but it's worth it in my opinion as an electronic musician just for this sidechain. So try it out. It's an amazing compressor and sidechain. You can do tons of other stuff with it, but I think having tools like this that just do groove in a really great way is worth the price of admission alone. Okay, and then the final plugin that I want to show you, which I think is yeah, it's super underrated. At least everyone who I've shown it to has immediately picked it up and basically doesn't use anything else, is the Vice de-esser. So I'm going to remove the de-esser from the vocal that we put on earlier, and let me show you the de-esser from, I mean, all the Vice stuff is incredible. I actually bought this stuff outright. I didn't get it just as an NFR license because all of it is incredible. But the de-esser gets used on any project that has vocals, and it's also really great on hi-hats, loops and stuff where it's just too aggressive and it's yeah, it's not doing good things in your mix. Just put a de-esser on a hi-hat loop or a snare or something like that, and it can just take off the edge to a point where it's actually usable in your track. So this is the Vice de-esser, and it's amazing for vocals. So let's have a listen to the vocal that we had in here before.
I went inside the pool, watching the river flow. We go where the lights outside, knowing the
So as you can probably tell, that vocal is harsh. It's not sounding quite right, and if you were to put that loud on a sound system, it would take your head off and it would not be pleasant on a dance floor. So let's use the de-esser. Maybe let's have a quick check on the spectrum analyzer that I use in the studio to have a see if we can maybe actually see the peaks. Let's have a quick look.
inside the pool, watching the river flow. We go where the lights so shine.
So I think it's super obvious to see that between sort of 5 and 7K, there's not good stuff happening. There's a huge peak there.
Watching the river flow.
It's actually even lower. It starts around 4K.
We go where the lights so shine.
And I'm not liking what I'm seeing also between 1 and 2K. That's not like a smooth ramp down kind of thing that you would hope for in your frequency spectrum. So the great thing about the Vice de-esser is that it has 2 bands. They're massively powerful. So the way I usually do this, and it takes a little bit of time to get used to the way the UE is working, because how it operates depends on where you touch it. But yeah, once you get it, it's super easy. So what I will usually do is start with the higher band, drop that into the vocal, and fix the majority of the problems with that right there. So let's have a listen.
We go where the lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool, watching the river flow. We go where the lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw.
Okay, so now it's really nailing it. It's like it's barely leaving any S sounds in there. So let's take it back a bit.
We go where the lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool.
And you remember that there was kind of, you know, like harsh frequencies around 1 to 2K. So I'm going to lower this as low as it goes, broaden it a little bit, and see if I find anything there also.
We go where the lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool.
So interestingly, the lower band de-esser actually caught a lot of the harshness that was present in this vocal. So let's listen to it now in the context of the mix.
Knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool, watching the river flow. We go where the lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool, watching the river flow.
So let's bypass the de-esser so we get an idea of how it's affecting it.
Knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool, watching the river flow.
Yeah, I think that says enough. It's definitely, I think it's the best de-esser well, I haven't heard all of them, but I've heard many, and this is definitely the one I use all the time. It's really clean, it's super intuitive to use, it's really powerful. Of course, you can get into all the mid-side stuff with it, but honestly, for like 99% of the stuff that I need to de-ess, this is enough. It's more than enough. It's massively powerful. It sounds super clean and precise. Yeah, this is my tip for the 5th criminally underrated plugin. So, all right, so let's see where we can take this vocal to with this combination of plugins. I'll try to tweak it and optimize it, and then I'll bypass.
Diving inside the pool, watching the river flow. We go where the lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool, watching the river flow.
Okay, I'm gonna A-B it.
We go where the lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool, watching the river flow.
Yeah, and that's pretty much on the money, I think. Now let's do a
Where the
bypass.
lights so shine, knowing the moon I saw, diving inside the pool.
So yeah, like the process signal, it's much more grabby, it's much more present, it's like, it's clean, and the dynamics of course are way more evened out, and you don't have this harsh de-essing, even though it feels more upfront. So yeah, these are my my recommendations for some of the most criminally underrated Softube plugins. Again, big thanks to Softube for making these licenses available for me. I owned all of the ones I showed you today except for the Empirical Lab stuff, so that's actually been a big discovery for myself, so I'm really happy to share that with you. So obviously I can highly recommend the Softube stuff. I've been using it for years. I've had the pleasure of working for the company on and off through the years, and yeah, I think everything I've ever heard from them is super high grade, and they have so many cool plugins. And most of it is low latency, which means it's amazing to use in a live context. It's super stable. I've never had anything crash on me that Softube's done, which actually I'm just realizing now that that's actually quite incredible, because I've been running their plugins as part of my live set for years now, and I've never had any issue, which is not something I can say for other plugin manufacturers that will remain unnamed. So yes, full recommendation from my side. Big thanks again to Andreas and Softube for making the Empirical Lab stuff available to me as a license. Everything else actually that I've shown you I already owned, and yeah, the Empirical Lab stuff has been a bit of a revelation. I'm super looking forward to checking out their mastering suite that's just come out as a subscription model, where you can use all their most high-end plugins to do your own mastering for like $15 a month. If that video is out, you'll see it here, the one that I will be doing on it. I think my angle is going to be comparing it to some of the hardware that we have here in the studio. I think that could be super interesting. And yeah, for the rest, I know this has been a long video, but I hope it has been helpful to you to do a deep dive into these. So yeah, I hope you have a great time in the studio. Don't forget to check out rapidflow.shop, where we offer the template that I just showed you, which is like pre-mixed, pre-mastered. It has amazing live performance effects, as you could hear. Has a sick mastering chain. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Watching the river flow, we go where the lights so shine.